Audi, Immortalium here, and it's been a while since I've done a manga review. Sorry about that. Mainly due to the, I've been reading some Game of Thrones, I've been reading some light novels, I've been catching up on some manga that I've been meaning to catch up on now, etc, etc. So that's all contributed to me being unable to review any manga until now, basically. So anyway, I read this manga recently called Pink by Kyoko Okazaki. And before I start touching on the story of Pink, I just want to touch on Kyoko Okazaki. So who is Kyoko Okazaki? Kyoko Okazaki, she's an important mangaka, mainly for her contributions to josei manga. Now, if you're not familiar with josei manga, basically josei manga is manga aimed at adult women. And, a couple of other examples of that would be With the Light, Bunny Drop, etc, etc. And Kyoko Okazaki is mainly known for a manga she did called Helter Skelter, which was very well received, and received a equally well received and a very popular live action film of the same name in Japan. So anyway, that's her most popular manga. I actually have that, but I haven't read that yet because Helter Skelter was published in the mid-2000s, whereas Pink was published, I think it was 1989. So I thought it would be better to read this first. So anyway, what is Pink about? Pink follows a main character called Yumi. And Yumi, she has a pet, a crocodile, called Croc. Yes, I know, very original name, right? So anyway, because he's a fully grown crocodile, he consumes a lot of food, and because of that, he's very expensive to maintain. And Yumi, she works a day job at an office, but that isn't enough to help pay for the crocodile. So at night, she works as a prostitute in order to get some extra money. Not only does she spend that money on, feeding Croc, but she also likes to spend it on, furniture, new dresses, plants, etc, etc. She very much loves to buy as much as she can. Now, her family situation is a bit odd. She has a father who is alive, but we never see throughout the entire story. She has a mother, a stepmother, who basically she used to be a real beauty, and she wants to still view herself as a real beauty. So she's been having a lot of plastic surgery in order to try to, maintain her looks, etc, etc. And Yumi has a half-sister of this, her father and the stepmother, called Kyoko. And Kyoko is a young enough girl, but even so, she's kind of messed up. I mean, the first scene we see her in, she's visiting Yumi, and she brings over a poodle from her neighbor. I think the neighbor had given out to her or something, but she proceeds to feed that poodle to the crocodile. And now, we don't actually see that, but we do see the two characters looking at the croc while he's eating and, kind of commenting on that. So it was a very uncomfortable scene, as you can imagine. Not only that, but Kyoko knows about Yumi's profession, about the fact that Yumi is a prostitute, etc, etc. And actually, on occasion, she actually does see her sister having sex, so she's kind of a bit of a messed up character. The other main character is a character called Haru. Now, Haru, he's a guy, and he is pleasing Kaiko's mother and, Yumi's stepmother. Now, when I say pleasing, basically Haru's having sex with her. And I can't recall if he's getting paid for it or not, but I do know the main reason that he is sleeping with her is because of the fact that he wants to get some experience. He's an aspiring novelist, and but he doesn't really know what to write about. A lot of stories he comes up with are kind of bland and uninteresting, so he feels he needs to get more experience. So anyway, he ends up meeting Yumi, and Yumi finds out what he's doing, and basically she starts kind of blackmailing him a bit. So that's how that works. So those are the five main characters. Five main characters including Croc, who very much is a character in his own right. Of course, he never speaks anything, but we see his thought bubbles from time to time. His thoughts on a situation or what he really wants. And we see him sleeping around, and he's a very important part of the drama that unfolds. So, you know, that is very interesting. So those are the 5 main characters. There are a couple of other characters that we meet throughout this manga, mainly the clients of Yumi, who are, you know, present every so often, but, you know, they just have a couple of lines to say, and, you know, they're off. And there is another character, but this leads on into my first criticism of this manga, and that is, I'm not really sure if she's a girlfriend, like a friends with benefits of Haru, but anyway, she's a girl, you know, that is into that, you know, she ends up sleeping with him from time to time, and basically I thought she was very underdeveloped. She just kind of appeared a couple of times. I thought she'd be an important character, particularly considering, you know, how many people Haru ends up sleeping with. But in the end, she just kind of disappears and not really touched upon again. So I did find that kind of disappointing. I would have liked to see a bit more of kind of drama coming from her. So I did find that disappointing. And the ending I wasn't overly keen on at first. There's a bit of tragedy that happens right before the end. And then right before the end, you know, like literally pages before. And while I liked the tragedy of, you know, the first one, the second one felt a bit tacked on at first. After a while, I kind of opened up to it a bit. I became a bit more accepting of it. But even so, I was still a bit disappointed with it. But anyway, overall, though, I really did enjoy the story. Before I started reading this manga, I came across what this manga was about, essentially, which is capitalism, money, hedonism, etc., etc. All the characters are after that in some shape or form. You know, Yumi feeding Croc and, you know, buying herself all this kind of stuff. Haru after fame and fortune. You know, Kaiko's mother, who, you know, wants to maintain beauty, etc., etc. And it's a really fascinating story, particularly given that since it was written around 1989, this would have been near the end of the Japanese economic bubble. Which was, you know, a time of great success for the Japanese economy. You know, wages were really high, products were really high priced, but they were still selling enormously well. It was heading for a crash. But, you know, it's just at this time, Kyoko Okazaki's Pink kind of comments on, you know, how important money has suddenly become to us, how much consumerism has become important to us, capitalism, etc., etc. So I found that really interesting. Overall, I really did enjoy Pink. Even though it is very sexual, it has some very uncomfortable scenes, as explained with the poodle. And the characters, I don't know how to describe the characters. Overall, they end up becoming kind of likable. In particular, Yumi and Haru and Kaiko. But they really shouldn't be likable. You know, so I am a bit confused by that as to how I actually ended up liking them and how other people have ended up liking them. But in the end, you do. So that does confuse me, and I guess that's a great way of. It shows how good Kyoko wrote this, because, you know, these characters who we should hate actually do end up gaining our sympathies and our emotions. So overall, the story of Pink, I really did enjoy. Now, I'm just going to touch on the art for a bit. The art, at first, I wasn't keen on. How can I describe... Okay, I guess the best way to do that would be just to show you, first of all. It's kind of got a very crude look. Almost reminiscent of Western, like, indie comics, etc., etc. The characters don't really resemble manga at all. They're more kind of scratchy. You know, there's a lot of odd drawings to their eyes, etc., etc. Not too much detail, very kind of overly cartoony, you know, not much realism at all. So at first I thought it was kind of crude and ugly, but over time the artwork actually began to really appeal to me. I started to really like the style of the artwork. I began to actually like the paneling, which is quite simple, but it's very well done. It has a nice flow to it. But I also really love the, you know, the angles, you know, that we see the characters in, and, you know, the close-ups, etc., etc. So I think Kyoko Okazaki overall was a very interesting, you know, artist. It did take me a while to get used to it, and to appreciate her artwork. And I'm sure that this artwork, as you can see, isn't everyone's cup of tea, but overall I ended up liking the artwork very much. Now, this was published by Vertical, and you know, as usual, Vertical, you know, it's a very well done edition. First of all, it's only about 250 pages, I believe. I'll check that. Yeah, it's about 250 pages. So it's a short enough read. It's basically a volume. It's a complete story in one. So, you know, if you buy it, you can read it all, you know, pretty fast, which is why I took my time reading it at night. The trim size is kind of the same as a Viz Signature. If you want a kind of a visual demonstration of that, okay, taking Yotsuba, which is, you know, standard tankobon size, it's about... This is how much bigger Pink is. So yeah, as you can see, it's quite big in comparison. And the translation flows very well. I like the translation. Paper quality, yeah, it was very good. There was a bit of page bleeding here and there, which, you know, was a bit annoying. But it's kind of infrequent, and it's not really that strong when it is there. It's just something I should point out, and it's kind of just a niggle. There is a color page near the beginning, but it is quite sexual, so I won't actually show you it, but that's another nice little touch that Vertical's edition has. It also has a kind of a one-page afterword from the author after the whole story, so overall Vertical did a very nice job with this edition. Not only that, but it's got a very nice feel to it. It's kind of a matte finish, so overall it's a very appealing you know, edition that Vertical put out. Not only that, but like the fact that Vertical are releasing this at all, you know, a 1980s graphic novel aimed at adult women, that's very niche. Like, that's more niche than manga itself, so kudos to Vertical for releasing this. So overall, I would recommend that people check this out, particularly if you're looking for something very different from manga, from normal manga, I guess I should say. You know, it is very strong in content. Not everyone's gonna like this, but overall it is actually a very engaging work, very interesting, and I did end up enjoying it very much, to the point where I'm very much looking forward to Helter Skelter. I don't believe there's any other works from Kyoko Okazaki out yet in English, but hopefully Vertical... I believe Pink and Helter Skelter have been quite successful for Vertical, so hopefully there'll be some more releases from Kyoko Okazaki in the future, because she has done a good few releases. So overall, yeah, recommended. Hopefully you found this review entertaining, informational, etc, etc. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and bye-bye.